I moved into a new apartment last month. It was nothing special, a cheap one-bedroom unit in an old building, the kind that always seems a bit too quiet at night. The floors creak with every step, the pipes groan in the walls, and the neighbors' conversations seep through the thin walls like whispers in the dark. At first, everything seemed fine, until one night I noticed something odd. It was subtle at first, just a strange smell coming from my bedroom closet. At first I thought it was the dust or the building's age. It was the kind of scent that clung to the air, thick and earthy, old wood, mildew, and something more, something faintly metallic. Then, a few days ago, it got worse. I felt a draft, a cold, unnatural breeze. I stood still in the closet, trying to make sense of it. The closet backed into another unit, and there were no vents, no windows. It didn't add up. At first, I thought maybe a window had been left open, but that didn't make sense either. I started to knock around the walls, tapping and listening, and then I heard something. A faint, hollow sound, like a door hidden behind the plaster. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the draft, about the smell that had only grown stronger. My curiosity took over, and I found myself back in the closet, pressing against the wall, searching. I found it, an uneven line where the wall didn't quite align with the rest of the room. Paint was chipped, and the edges were just a bit too smooth, as though someone had tried to hide it. Without thinking, I pressed harder. The wall moved. I froze. My heart was pounding in my chest, my mind racing with 100 questions, but I pushed the thought aside. It was just an old maintenance door, right? Maybe an old closet, a hidden storage space. Nothing sinister, just an odd feature in an otherwise boring apartment. But I knew, deep down, that something felt wrong. I grabbed a flashlight and opened the panel. What I found beyond it was a narrow passageway, dark and thick, with the smell of rot and dust. I squeezed through, every instinct telling me to turn back, but I ignored it. The passage was cold, the air still, but it felt wrong, like it was holding something back. I stepped into the hidden room. It was small, barely big enough to turn around in. No windows, no lights, just an old wooden chair in the center of the room, its dark wood warped with age. The moment I entered, I felt a shift in the air, like the room itself was watching me, waiting. Then I saw the walls. They were covered in scratches, deep, jagged marks, the kind of scratches you don't just make by accident. They were carved into the wood, some old, faded, and some so fresh they seemed to still hum with an unnatural energy. My skin prickled as I traced the scratches with my eyes, realizing how deliberate they were, like something or someone had been trapped here. But it was the chair that truly froze me in place. Leather restraints were bolted into the armrests and legs, thick, dark straps that looked too real, too purposeful. My heart stopped. My mind was reeling, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from the chair. The room was suffocating, pressing in on me. I could almost hear the echoes of someone that had been left here long ago, or maybe just recently. That was when I bolted. I turned and fled, slamming the panel shut behind me, shoving my dresser in front of it as if it would keep whatever was in that room locked away. I barely slept that night, every creak in the building sending me into a cold sweat. I kept imagining the room, the chair, the scratches. I kept hearing something, like the room was calling to me. In the morning, I convinced myself it was just my imagination. I told myself I had overreacted, that it was just an old, unused maintenance space, nothing more. So I decided to check again. During the day, I told myself everything would make sense. I moved the dresser, took a deep breath, and opened the hidden door. It was already open, and the chair was gone.